The Crypto Fear and Greed Index is up to 420. Just kidding. It's at 24, up slightly from yesterday's 22. The MMRI is up slightly, currently resting at 257, still in the high-risk category. And the crypto market is currently exhibiting this very strange, unusual color. Oh, it's green. That's what it is. The same color as your grass. With quite a few cryptos up on the day, making quite an improvement even on the week, even though it's been relatively in the red. And the monthly is still down quite a bit, but RAIN is still up 133%. We've got Telcoin up 65.5%, Altima up 53.4%, WLFI up 21.9%, and BCH up 17.5%. And looking at the top 1,000 by crypto market cap, we can see that the 101 to 200 range is currently the only one in profit, with the others being heavily in the red. I would much rather be in the green. Noobs when crypto crashes. I'm somebody's bitch. Crypto vets when crypto crashes. Dude. Also when it moons. Dude. And as always, this is not financial advice and is nothing less than the rantings and ravings of a man who tends to repeat himself often. And as always, this is not financial advice and is nothing less than the rantings and ravings of a man who tends to repeat himself often. First off, jumping over and taking a look at Telcoin's progress since the last time we covered this in a video, we can see that after the price went on this incredible run to the upside, it has been consolidating in this three-wave pattern within this well-defined channel right here. We have a three-wave move to the downside, a three-wave move to the upside, and are now forming a three-wave move to the downside for the wave Y, which looks to be the wave 4 of a five-wave move to the upside. Which, if this interpretation is correct, once this Y wave is complete, we should see it moving into the wave 5, continuing the fifth leg to complete this impulse, of which I personally believe is a much smaller fractal of a much larger overall pattern. But I've covered that in previous videos. If you'd like to go back and check them out, I'll be looking for this Y wave termination to possibly end somewhere in the range of perhaps this fair value gap, perhaps this upper trend line, or it could even drop down to the 1.272 fib. But I will be watching closely to see when this three-wave move is complete and seeing how it reacts in completion to this wave 4. Jumping over and taking a look at the Telcoin Heatmap, which we now have availability to. This is the 2-week. We can see that after price went on this incredible run to the upside moving into December, price is currently trading around this area here. There's a very thick band of liquidity on the chart down here, resting at 0.04845, right in the range of these previous lows. Although there's not a ton of liquidity up above current price, there is a few bands of liquidity resting in this area here at about 2059195. and one up here near the previous high, resting at 006287. It wouldn't surprise me one bit if we came down and swept this liquidity before potentially moving higher, which could align with the previous chart that we was just looking at, bringing the price down in this range right here. Jumping over and taking a look at LUNC, which some refer to as LUNC. We can see since making this nice move right here, breaking out on December 1st, price ran up here, hitting the 786 perfectly. Price is still hanging out in this range right here after making this thrust up just today. Now jumping back over to the weekly chart, which I just went over in a recent video, we can see that LUNC is trading within this well-defined channel on the weekly chart and is exhibiting an A, B, C correction in the form of a zigzag with a 5-wave move to the downside, a 3-wave move up, followed by another 5-wave move to the downside, which it looks like this recent bump up that we've had is actually the ABC for the wave 4, meaning we still have a wave 5 to the downside remaining, which going by the Elliott Wave standards would mean that we have the potential to come down here to the 1.618 before completing this 5-wave move, finishing off the primary wave C. It doesn't necessarily have to go this low. I've actually covered this in a recent video. You should go back and watch that. It gets pretty deep. But I would definitely be looking for it to come down to the area of these red bands, down towards this lower trend line in this 1.618 to complete this fifth wave. Now jumping over to the LUNC heat map, or LUNC. This is also the 2-week chart. We can see that the thickest band of liquidity on this chart is currently resting right here at 4067979, which formed after visiting and setting this recent high right here on December 6th. There was a decent band of liquidity resting right in this area that has since been cleaned out. There's also a little bit of liquidity resting below this previous low right here that could also be taken out. Price very well could reach up for this liquidity first. And going back to the chart, we can see that this 5-wave move to the downside would not be invalidated unless this wave 4 action pushes up past the wave 1 termination, which is approximately resting in that 409 range. If for any reason this area is invalidated, we'll have to revisit this and get another count. But as it sits right now, I do believe this 5-wave structure is the best possible outcome. And if you would like to trade spot, or if you're just looking for a place to swap your cryptos for 0 fees, use my link and check out Bitunix. You'll be glad that you did. Now jumping over and taking a look at the XRP chart. This is the weekly chart. Price has been trading within this expanding, broadening wedge for quite some time. Price is currently trading within this A, B, C flat pattern with a 3-wave move to the downside, a 3-wave move to the upside, and a 5-wave move to the downside. Within this 5-wave move, there is a subwave which also consists of 5 waves to the downside. And by looking at the current structure, it appears we are currently trading within the wave 3 of that wave 5, which means we still have a wave 3 termination to set, moving into the wave 4, then into the wave 5. If this pattern is valid, price is still trading, holding up above the monthly bullish fair value gap that we can see right here on the chart, and has been doing so for quite some time. Although this price structure was broken down here, after this draw on liquidity, price broke out, moving up and eventually setting the new all-time high right here. Price is trading within a much larger 5-wave move to the upside, with this being the wave 3 termination, and this being the area of the wave 4 termination, which has yet to be determined, meaning there is still very likely a wave 5 to come at a future date. Price is also exhibiting a bullish hidden divergence on the weekly chart right here that we can see on the indicator, coming from this point here to this point right here. If this move continues to the downside, pushing into this wave 3, 4, and 5, it very well could invalidate this bullish hidden divergence. But as it sits right now, it's currently still valid and still on the chart. We're also seeing in the CCI that the blue line is getting very close to the yellow line, and we will be looking for a potential crossover of this blue line. There's no guarantee that this is going to play out in this fashion, because there's a lot of things on this chart that are telling us the exact opposites of each other. By having a pattern that very well could break to the downside, as it's now pushing against the 50% line of the Gaussian channel, breaking below it. That's bearish. We're seeing it hold at the bullish fair value gap. That's bullish. We're seeing the primary 5-wave move to the upside right here, with the wave 4 termination leaving a 5th wave to the upside. That's bullish. But we're also seeing this subwave being a 5-wave move with the wave 3, 4, and 5 still left to the downside. That's bearish. But we also have a hidden divergence sitting on the weekly chart. That's bullish. So this is starting to get a little bit confusing, and this certainly is not the easiest chart to read. So it has quite a few things going for it and quite a few things working against it. And it very well could be a coin flip at this point, but that remains to be seen. But overall, I still am very bullish on XRP in the medium to the long term, regardless of what happens in the short term. But I do think that we will be seeing this 5-wave move play out to the downside. Now, wherever this stops is anybody's guess, but we're starting to see a nice plateau resting right here. And even though this is a great sign of support resting on this bullish fair value gap, It's not uncommon to see a big failure coming off of one of these plateaus. So we definitely need to keep our eye on that because it could easily come down to finish off this wave 3 termination, moving into the wave 4, potentially being rejected off of this bullish fair value gap to complete the wave 5. And jumping over to look at the XRP insights, we can see that the progress is still moving forward in terms of the ETFs, which are still accumulating XRP as we speak, with now 477 million XRP being locked up. We can also see that the Grayscale ETF is up 3.14%, Canary Capital up 3.29%, Bitwise up 3.13%, Franklin Templeton up 3.18%, Rex Osprey up 3.36%, at a time when XRP is currently only trading up 1.35%. But jumping over and taking a look at the XRP heat map, this is also the 2-week chart. We can see that the thickest band of liquidity currently resting on the chart is in this thick band right here, centered at $2.2282. When comparing it to the rest of the chart, the vast majority of liquidity is currently resting above the current price, going up as high as $2.30, with the liquidity below current price resting below this previous low right here at about $1.98, pushing down into the low 190 range. I'm not a gambling man, but if I was, I would bet all the money in your wallet right now that we will clear out this liquidity, and likely at some point very soon, as price is really not that far away from this, and it is resting just above the previous high. With this low being a higher low from this low, if this moves up to set a higher high off of this, that could be another good sign. It'll definitely be something to watch for.
Still waiting on that heifer, Julio. You're cool. And you, I'm out.